Hi all, welcome to today's vlog. Today we'll be inspecting this hive where we are expecting that the new queen would have hatched out and be mated by this time. So we'll assess how well she's laying in this colony. So we started off with opening the roof, removing the crown board. The bees have been really busy, and what they've done is with propolis stuck the supers really strongly, so it took me took an effort for me to remove them. The first super that I removed was the oldest one, which was really heavy and almost full. The second one seemed like half full, and there was still quite a bit that needed to be done in that one. I'm smoking the bees at this time so they feel a bit distracted and leave me alone and make the inspection a bit easier. I'm just cleaning the wax that's been drawn above the queen excluder. It's a good way of removing it because then they will stop drawing more wax over it and just focus on the areas where they should be drawing more wax. Removing the queen excluder, and I'm making sure the queen's not on the other side of the queen excluder before I put that on the side. So just having a quick look. She wasn't on there, so I'll go through the hive and try to find her, see if she has successfully mated and returned back to the hive. I've removed the dummy board that was in the hive, so it gives me more space to move the frames around. The first frame from the end looked pretty much empty. There's a little bit of honey stores on there, which is normal as expected. So I'll leave that on the side as well, so that gives me a bit more space to work. Lifting up the second frame from the end, I can see there's loads of capped brood in there. That's a good sign. That shows the queen has mated successfully and come back to the hive. The concerning point here is that the queen starts laying from the middle of the hive and the sheet goes outwards. It's the capped brood in the second last frame of the hive. That means she's laying at a really fast pace. If the space continues to be like this, they will plan to swarm out again as the queen will be running out of laying space. So as we picked up the second frame, we decided that we will go with the double brood, which means I will give them 2 boxes of a brood box to the queen, so she have enough laying space in there. So we have a brood box ready on the side, and what I'll do is, as I'll keep lifting the frames up looking for the queen, I'll replace that with a new frame and move that frame on the other brood box. I beautifully brood laid all over the frame. Lifting another frame, and that's been fully laid out and capped. That means the queen is performing really well within the short time space that she's come back and completely laid out the brood box, which is a very good sign that the queen's a really good queen. And this frame as well, just made sure if I could spot the queen, which I couldn't, so I'm putting the frame back in there. Just doing a last checker before I put the frame back in, but I couldn't find the queen in there. Another frame full of brood, completely capped, with very few cells not capped, and I could see the brood being laid in there as well. Loads of bees working on those cells. And I'll move that frame to the second brood box that will go on the top and replace that with a new frame. Another frame full of brood, completely capped, and some uncapped brood. Trying to find the queen in there. Couldn't see it on this frame, on this side of the frame. Again, on the other side, there's loads of brood, but again, there's no sign of queen in there. Now we are right in the middle, where normally there's a lot more brood in comparison to the frames towards the ends. But this queen seems to be really good, as she's laid out all the brood frames equally from the center till the end. Couldn't see the queen on that frame, so I'll put that on the side and replace that with a new frame. Again, very similar looking frame full of brood. The middle bit that you see, which is capped, that's normally brood that will be coming out in next few days, whereas the uncapped brood will take a few days. The bees will cap it, and eventually after about 7 to 8 days that will come out as well, hatch and come out. I'm just checking the frames twice now because it's coming towards the end of the hive and I haven't seen the queen yet. So I'll put the frame back and lift up the next one. Another frame with loads of brood in there. You see, as this frame has less capped brood in there, but on the other cells which were not capped had all been laid out. So I'll move that frame to the other brood box that will go on the top and replace that with a new one. As I'm approaching to the most front frames of the hive, normally these are quite empty. So this frame was normally filled up with loads of pollen in there, very few signs of brood in there. And coming to the last frame of the hive, pretty much similar to the frame before this. There's a little bit of honey stores on the top and some brood in there, but there's very little in there as expected because that's the most front frame of the hive, which is usually not very busy. But I couldn't see the queen on that one either. At this stage I'm not worried at all because I can see the queen's been laying out crazily in all the frames, so I'm not concerned she's not there, but I'm quite happy that queen hatched out, mated and have returned back to the hive. The checkered board sequence that you see that I've done with the frames, that's not necessary to do, as nowadays a lot of people just put the new brood box underneath the older one. I've just been doing it because I've learned this way, the old school way, but doing the other way just by simply putting the new brood box underneath is absolutely fine. So I'm just putting the frames which were on the side back in the hive. And that's the brood box that was on the side that will go on top of the original brood box. Just smoking the bees a little bit so they move away, so we don't squish any more bees when we put the second box on top of that. So we're gently sliding that over it. There goes the queen excluder, so queen now has about 22 to 24 frames to lay on. That will give them plenty of space, and then the supers goes on top of that, and that's how the colony looks. Here's this queen from my another hive which I marked, so you can see we marked it in pink color, and there she goes in the hive. And that's another queen from my third hive, which hatched at the same time as the first queen that you saw. So I'm using a plunger tool to make sure I mark that correctly. As you can see, that's a quite good size of a queen, healthy queen. So I've put the mark on there and I'll leave her in there for about a couple of minutes before the paint dries out, and I'll let her in the hive again. Thank you very much for watching today's video. Make sure you subscribe, like and share. Thank you.